Today is all about Haleakalā National Park, which I had the pleasure of visiting in November 2023. Hawaii has 8 main islands. Portions of the Hawaiian Islands were made into one national park in 1916, yet it was divided in 1960. The part on Maui became Haleakala, and the part on the Big Island, Hawaii, became Hawaii Volcanoes National Park. Haleakala is a little over 30,000 acres, making it one of the smallest U.S. national parks. Because of how remote Hawaii is and the expense to visit, fewer than 1 million people visit the park each year. For comparison, over 13 million people visited Great Smoky Mountains National Park last year. It's $30 per car to get into Haleakala, or you can use your National Park Pass. Haleakala means House of the Sun in Hawaiian. It's an extremely sacred place to the native Hawaiians, and there are several important cultural areas within the park. The ancient Hawaiian legend says that the demigod Maui climbed to the top of Haleakala and lassoed the sun so that it would travel slower and the days would be longer. Another legend involves Pele, the Hawaiian goddess of fire and volcanoes. Pele's curse is a legend that says if you take a volcanic rock off of the volcano, you will have extremely bad luck until it's returned back home. There are two sections of Haleakalā National Park, the Summit District and the Kipahulu District. The Summit District is where you'll find the famous volcano crater and see amazing views above the clouds, and the Kipahulu District is much closer to sea level, and it's known for its lush vegetation and waterfalls. Let's start with the Summit District on the west side of the park. You take the Haleakala Highway, starting in Kula in upcountry, 21 zigzaggy miles up to the visitor center. On a normal highway, you'd think this would take you like 20 minutes. Nope, it is so twisty-turny, and you go through the habitat of the nene, the Hawaiian goose, which is the state bird. So you gotta go slow, and it'll take you 40 to 45 minutes to get there. It's beautiful though, so if you don't have to be the one driving, highly recommend you be the passenger princess. A lot of that is open range for cattle farms, so you're likely to pass a few along the way. And it is steep. Over half of the road is over 5% grade, and I saw at least one person biking up there. More power to you, man. I'm not sure my thighs would handle that trip. The highest peak is the Haleakala Summit at 10,023 feet above sea level. It's believed to have once been as high as 15,000 feet above sea level. However, erosion has taken a toll on the original summit, and now a crater is in its place. Now, I say above sea level because the base of the whole volcano actually starts well below the surface of the ocean. With almost 20,000 feet underwater, the whole volcano is technically 29,700 feet tall, making it 700 feet taller than Mount Everest. It's one of the world's largest dormant volcano craters. Dormant, not dead. The volcano last erupted somewhere between 400 and 600 years ago, and it could erupt again. There's several hiking trails at the top that you can get to from the Sliding Sands Trail near the visitor center. Those trails will take you to some of the 14 cinder cones in the park. These were formed when gas was trapped under the lava and eventually caused the lava to raise up and eject like fountains. You can also get to the 3 primitive cabins and a couple campsites this way. The cabins are 3.7, 5.5, and 9.3 miles from the closest parking lot, and you must reserve them ahead of time on recreation.gov. If you're hiking, please respect the law of staying on the marked trails. A lot of the park goes through endangered species habitat, and the ground is actually quite fragile. In fact, Haleakala is the national park with the most endangered species, 87 of them being plants. One of the cooler things I got to see were the silver sword plants. These are in the sunflower family and have long, skinny leaves with silver hairs. They can live up to 90 years, and they only flower once before dying soon after that. Silver swords only grow in the high-altitude volcanic regions of Maui and the Big Island. Now, there's some short hikes near the visitor center and the summit observation deck too. And this is a great place to watch both the sunrise and the sunset. Just FYI, if you plan to watch the sunrise and you're entering the park between 3 a.m. and 7 a.m., you'll need a reservation that you can sign up for on recreation.gov up to 60 days in advance. I got to see the sunset from above the clouds up there, which I don't think I'd experienced before, apart from being like on an airplane, which believe me is not the same. Average temperatures on the lower portions of Maui are mid 80 degrees and about 25 degrees cooler at the Haleakalā summit. Although snow is very rare, it's not unheard of. I was really comfortable in my short sleeve shirt at sea level that day, and yet was really chilly in my jacket at the top, especially as the sun was going down. Near the observation deck, yet it's off limits to the visitors, is the Haleakalā High Altitude Observatory. It's owned by the University of Hawaii and houses several telescopes for research, education, and space observation. One other thing worth noting that I remember when I was visiting was just the stillness of the environment. You couldn't hear anything. If there was not another person right next to you, you couldn't hear people. There's no wind, no birds chirping. It was probably like the quietest place I had ever been before. It was almost kind of like very surreal and very peaceful. So now let's head to the east side of the park, the Kipahulu District. You've probably heard of the famous Hana Highway or Road to Hana. The 64-mile twisting, winding, narrow road takes you from central Maui through North Shore around to East Maui. Most people stop in Hana and go back to central Maui. And yet, just 12 miles further is the Kipahulu District of Haleakalā National Park. There are few parks that have a stark landscape contrast within them like this one does. The summit feels like a dry, brownish mountain desert with little signs of life. And then the Kipahulu district is lush and green and damp. Remember, it's about 25 degrees warmer down there, and it's humid and it rains often. Kipahulu means fetch from exhausted gardens and was once a thriving community with farms and agricultural terraces. There are hundreds of archaeological sites like stone walls and terraces, and it later became a sugar plantation town and then cattle ranching country. If you want a challenging hike in this area, take the 4-mile Pipiwai Trail. It goes to the Makahiku Overlook where you can see the falls about a half-mile in. Another half-mile, you get to the bamboo forest. And at the end of the trail is the Waimoku Waterfalls. The much shorter Kuloa Point Trail starts at the Kipahulu Visitor Center and goes to the Ohio Gulch where you can see beautiful ocean views and the pools of Ohio. Nearby is the Kipahulu Campground right on the shore. There's no electricity or running water, but hey, you got 4 vault toilets and amazing views for $20 a night. Am I right? Just outside this part of the park is the Laulima Family Farm. They've been using organic practices on their 13-acre farm since they began operating. Grab some coffee, fruit, tea, honey, jam, and macadamia nuts. If you're into aviation or history, check out Charles Lindbergh's grave in East Maui as well. That's all for Haleakalā National Park. Have you been? What was your favorite part? I would love to hear from you. Find me on Instagram at the.great.escape.podcast and send me a message. And don't forget to hit subscribe so that you can follow along and dream big for your journeys on The Great Escape. See you next time, adventurers.